great athlete. He had, he was in wrestling and baseball. My son did not know that his friend's dad was struggling with addiction. And he said, "Hey, I've got some cocaine. Do you want to try it?" He was holding a gun to his head. He had gotten hold of heroin, and it was laced with fentanyl. The only words on the other end was, "He's not breathing." My name's Tonya Garton. I'm from Charlotte, Tennessee, and I'm here to tell you my story of my son Quentin, who lost his life to fentanyl at the age of 20 years old.
What kind of childhood did he have in your family? Like, how could this happen?
We questioned the same thing. How did this happen? Quentin was a very energetic, loved kid. We do not have drugs or alcohol in our house. He's very involved in sports from the time he was 6 years old. It was at 11 years old that we first caught him smoking weed, and we were not prepared. We were not prepared for that. We thought it came later, and we grounded him for a very long time, which was very ineffective. And his friends were doing it, and they had gotten it from their parents, so it seemed cool to the kids. So we struggled with weed on and off. When he turned 15, his dad and I got a divorce. And he didn't take that well. He didn't take that well at all. And he had gotten into a relationship with his very first girlfriend, and she broke up with him, and he started to smoke more weed. And, but he still did good. I mean, he was a great athlete. He had, he was in wrestling and baseball and football. He had scouts looking at him from some small schools for his baseball. He had dropped out of football his freshman year and didn't go back until his senior year. And when he went into his senior year, a kid that we knew very well, knew all of his parents, and I mean, we knew all of his friends and all their parents. We felt very safe. Told him, "Hey, I know you're having trouble sleeping at night, and this will help you with sleeping and with taking the hits in football." So he offered him a Xanax. And he started taking Xanax. And I caught him a few times, but I didn't know that's what he was doing. He was crushing it up and snorting it. And he told me that it was that all the football team was snorting pre-workout. And I was like, "No, sir." I thought that was the end of it. I was very naive. I didn't understand addiction and how this works. And I was like, "No, sir, you may not do this." And he said, "Okay, I won't." And I thought that was the end of the story, until we get a phone call from the local police that said, "We have Quentin in custody." This was a week before he turned 18. And we're like, "Quentin? Like our Quentin?" And yes, it was our Quentin, and he was high as a kite on Xanax and had driven his car and was going off the road and whatever. So somebody called in and they pulled him over, and we get up there to the police station to get him. We were going to leave him there. They said, "He's under 18. You cannot leave him here." We were going to teach him a lesson. He was high as a kite. He doesn't even remember any of that. So we got him out of trouble in court. We had some pull with people. We got him a good lawyer. We thought, we'll start his life all over, and it'll go good from here, still not understanding addiction. And so it was a few months later, we get a call from the school that Quentin's high, and we need to get up to the school. We get up there, and I'll give you that he looked high. He had started back his ADHD medicine. We insisted that he start his ADHD medicine. He didn't want to take it, but he'd been off of it for a long time, and it made him appear to be high. And he had taken his sleep medicine that was prescribed, and he's only supposed to take a half a dose, and he took 2 pills of it. But they had found an empty bag that used to contain weed in his car. So, and they're showing it to us, and we're like, there's nothing in here. And they're like, but smell it. You can tell there's something that has been in there. So we said, listen, we'll go get him drug tested. And they said, if he comes back negative, this will all go away. So we took him directly down, got him drug tested, and he wasn't high. There was nothing in him. But by then they had processed the paperwork, and he was off to alternative school. So he goes to alternative school. We're like, listen, 11 weeks of alternative school, you will be back into baseball. This is all behind you. This was his senior year. And in alternative school, someone smelled like marijuana, and they couldn't determine who it was. And there was only like 2 of them that drove because he was old enough. And they went and searched his vehicle, and they found an empty nicotine vape pen. And they expelled him from school permanently. And when I say my son cried, my grown son sobbed and sobbed. And he said, Mom, they can't do this to me. You know, when commencement came around and he saw all of his friends walking across the stage, he cried and cried. And he had to go to work. And he's out of school now. You know, what does he do from this point? So he went to a friend's house. His friend's dad said, listen, I will put you to work. You can stay here because we have to get up early, whatever. And he went there, started working the first day on the job. My son did not know that his friend's dad was struggling with addiction. And he said, hey, I've got some cocaine. Do you want to try it? And Quentin's like, sure. Well, come to find out it was meth. And my son he said that the first time he ever tried it, that was it. He was hooked to it. And it's probably about 10 months before I really, because he wasn't living with me at this point, I didn't realize that he had gotten into this and he was being paid in drugs instead of money. So by the time we figured it out, he had been arrested again for running from the police, but he was so high he didn't know he was running from the police. And so I told him I would not bail him out of jail, and the only way that I would get him out was if he agreed to go to treatment. And I found him a bed, and he went to treatment for 64 days. He was able to graduate high school from this treatment center, get his degree. Still, we had gone through family programs and everything, and I still didn't understand addiction. I thought, okay, he's been to treatment. He went to sober living. Life is good. We started over, not understanding that addiction has a bigger hold than that. So 4 months after that, he got a phone call someone had seen on Snapchat that he was in some kind of crisis. So I started calling around to find him. He's yelling and screaming at me in text message, has blocked me. My son has never been like that with me. He was holding a gun to his head. Here he had gotten hold of heroin, and it was laced with fentanyl. And was kind of in like psychosis at that point. So we got him into a psych ward for a week and then back into treatment. That time he did not want to go, but he did go. And he went to sober living in Florida to get away from Tennessee, to get away from the same people in the same places. And he's, Mom, I can't stay sober here. So sent him to Florida, and he stayed there for about 5 months. Then he went up to live near his biological father, thought he was going to mend that relationship. And we knew it wasn't a good idea, but it wasn't Tennessee. So they ended up having a big falling out. And he packed up and come back to Tennessee. And he moved back here in December. was right back with the same kids, the same crowds, whatever. February, I started noticing something was wrong. And I said, Quentin, if you are struggling, I need you to get your resources. He had been sober a year at that point. In January, at the end of January, he celebrated his 1-year sobriety. And I just noticed his behaviors. He stopped calling me. This kid FaceTimed me 6 times a day, every single day. Even the day he died, he had been FaceTiming like 4 times. But I had seen him that weekend and I thought, okay, he's okay. He was acting normal. He's talking about wanting to start his 12 steps again. And I thought everything was okay. And then that Tuesday, I was sitting in my office and my phone starts lighting up with the messenger from Facebook, a phone call coming through from his roommate. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I couldn't get it to answer. And I finally got it answered. The only words on the other end was, he's not breathing. And I knew without asking what was happening, I knew that drugs had taken him. I knew in my heart that it was fentanyl. I had to wait for toxicology, but it was fentanyl. Don't know what he was trying to get. I don't know if he thought he was getting heroin or Xanax because he liked both of those. Maybe he was trying to go back on meth, I don't know. But whatever he was trying to get, it turned out to be pure fentanyl. So, and he had told us, Mom, I can never smoke weed again because if I smoke weed, I will do other things. He said that that's not a big enough high for me. And as long as I stay away from weed, I can stay away from the rest. And, you know, all of his friends were like, it was just weed. You know, we just wanted him to smoke some weed with us. Well, that's not how weed works for somebody who's an addict, you know. It's a gateway for them. So our lives have been devastated. He was my best friend. He was my baby of my 3 kids. He's got, you know, 3 brothers and a sister that will forever miss him. You know, our lives are forever changed because of it.
So now in his honor, you know, in his name, what are you doing?
We decided at his funeral, we had this captive audience. I was like, all of his friends, all of his using buddies are right here. And I want to send a message because I didn't want them to end up in that casket with him. And so we sent out a message. We had some recovery counselors come in and speak and tell their story at his funeral, and gave resources for them to get help, kind of gave a plea out to them. And somebody had started a GoFundMe, because when you lose a child at that age, you don't have life insurance and stuff. He had a accidental death policy, but drug overdoses are considered to be suicide, so they don't pay out on it. So they had started a GoFundMe. We raised far more money than we needed for his funeral, and we had asked for, in lieu of flowers, for them to donate to this treatment center. So we thought, we'll take the rest of this and we'll donate it over and start a scholarship at this treatment center for him. We'll come to find out they needed $20,000 to start that endowment. We were like, we're not gonna have that for years, so we still wanna help people. This money is not ours. And so we started a foundation in his name. It's Quintenn Clark Foundation, so that we could get other people into treatment, that we could spread awareness and family support, because without that family support, we wouldn't have been okay. And it took off, and we've been able to help people and partner with, you know, our local community and community leaders. And our hope is just to help, to get people to not get started in the first place. You know, we reach out to everybody but youth because that's where Quentin started. Where it all started was in his youth. That's a big passion of ours, is to reach the youth, to help them not ever start down this path.
So you want to talk to kids that are in middle school, high school, and share Quentin's story, but also families telling parents. What's your message to families, parents?
My biggest thing is for education of how addiction actually works, how it gets started, and the effects of it. And my big thing is you're not alone, because it feels like you're alone. You think that your child's the only one that is doing this. And we almost felt shame because we have this good kid and we don't want people to look at him bad. And then what are people thinking of us as parents? Because our child is doing things that we warned other parents, you know, we warned our kid against other kids, and it was him. He was doing this stuff. We want them to know that it's not shameful. You're not alone. There's support out there. You have to have the education and knowledge to even help them, because without it, you know, we thought that we knew. Even after he went to treatment, we thought that we understood, and we still didn't understand.